Hey everybody, Mike Iaconelli out here in the shop. We got a brand new episode for you today. We got a good one. And today we're talking about fishing hacks for big bass. There's so many hacks out there, but today we're going to be focusing on some hacks that I do on a flipping tube, a bigger size flipping tube. The great thing about a flipping tube is that it works all year round. It works in clean to stain water, shallow, deep water. But for some reason, that bigger flipping tube is great for bigger fish. Spring, summer, probably the best seasons to fish it, but it works all year. When I'm talking about a bigger flipping tube, I want you to look at the size of that one. Not talking about those little tiny jig head tubes, smallmouth tubes. I'm talking about a 4 or a 5-inch tube. I love these right here because they're loaded with scent as well. And this is the Berkeley Power Tube. They make it in a bunch of sizes, but man, talk about a 4 or 5 incher. This is 4.5 inches. Perfect size for this flipping presentation we're going to be doing, right? We're not finessing it with a spinner rod. This is flipping tube. But here's where the hacks come in on this bait. When I look back in my early use of this bait, I got so many big bites, but I would lose a lot. And it was because of some of the inherent problems with this bigger, thicker, full-bodied tube, right? Remember, a tube is hollow. This bait's hollow. It's poured on a cylinder that creates that hollow section. And because of that, this bait would ball up a lot and you would lose a lot. But over the years, I've found a lot of hacks for this flipping tube to make it a better bait, better action, and best of all, better hookup percentages, okay? So let's go through, and I want to show you from the beginning to the end the different hacks that I do to make this 4 or 5-inch flipping tube a better bait. All right, let's start. Once again, this is a flipping style tube, which means we're Texas rigging it. So I want to show you from start to finish everything I'm doing. We're going to start with a sinker stop, a bobber stop, a weight stop, whatever you want to call it. This is a VMC medium size. And I put that on the line first. You see that right there? That's that little black, almost looks like a little peg. And the nice thing about that, once you put it on your line, it just slides on with a little key. You can move this. And you're going to see in a second how important this little weight stop, this little sinker stop is in this system. Next is our weight. And I want to use a worm weight when I'm using a flipping tube, a tungsten worm weight. I like a little bit lighter weights. An 1/8 ounce up to about a 3/8, but a 3/16, and this one right here, number one size for me, 1/4 ounce tungsten worm weight, okay? We're going to thread that on next, all right? Thread that on the line, okay? All right, now these next two components are really, really key. And you heard me say earlier about action and losing fish. You know, doing a hack to stop losing fish and give the bait better action. The third component we're going to thread on our line, here it goes. You ready? If I can find it. There it goes. Look at that little bead. This is a 10 or 12 millimeter red or orange bead, okay? Look at that little bead. You can get these at hobby stores. You can get them at tackle supply stores. Tackle Warehouse has them. Just a 10 or a 12 millimeter red or orange bead, okay? We're going to take that little bead, and now we're going to thread that on, okay? So look at what we've got. We've got our sinker stop. We've got our 1/4 ounce tungsten weight. We've got our bead. And if you're using tungsten, that 10 or 12 millimeter red or orange bead should be plastic. Don't use a glass bead if you're using tungsten, because tungsten's so hard it'll crack the glass. Use plastic bead. All right? Last but not least, before we get to the bait, is the hook. Remember, 4 to 5 inch tube. This is the Berkeley Power Tube, 4.5 inch. We're going to use a 3 or 4/0 extra wide gap hook. This is a VMC heavy duty wide gap, but here's the key. You ready? We want that hook to be ringed. Ringed. A lot of companies make them, VMC makes them, and when I'm talking about a ringed hook, it has a welded ring on the eye of the hook. Listen, hang in there with me because you're going to see why all this stuff's important in a second. Okay? So that ring is welded on the eye of the hook. Listen, if you have 3 and 4/0 extra wide gap hooks already, don't worry. You could just use a regular split ring. Take a split ring off a crankbait. You could just use a regular split ring, okay? You can make your own. But you want a ring on that eye of that hook. So you're tying to the ring, right? Look right there. You're tying to that ring. You're not tying to the eye of the hook. Okay. Last but not least, let's get to the bait, and then we'll start talking about some of this stuff and some of these hacks, okay? Here's the bait once again. Whatever, your favorite 4 to 5 inch tube. I put it on there. I Texas rig it, okay? I'm going to show you a hack in a second. Let's get back to this stuff. All right. Number 1 hack. With that bobber stop, that weight stop, when I'm flipping a tube, you ready for this? I purposely keep it about 1 inch to 1.5 inches above the knot. Purposely creating a little gap to let that weight and that bead slide, okay? So many times when you're using that weight stop, that bobber stop, your tendency is to want to push it all the way down to the head of the bait. Hack number 1, pull it up 1 inch, 1.5 inches above that knot, right? Pull it up so that that weight and that bead have movement. That's going to do 2 things when you're fishing this flipping tube. The first thing it's going to do, listen, just listen. If you don't believe me, just listen. That tungsten weight, now that it's got that little inch, 1.5 inches, 3/4 of an inch movement, it's going to create sound. Super, super key to attract some bites. But here's the other thing that this system's going to do, and now it's going to all make sense. The other reason for that bead, by the way, why I said orange and red, listen, I've played with bead color, I've used clear, I've used black. For some reason, that little kick of red or orange in the head attracts the fish to that area, right? It attracts the fish right to the meat of the bait, right where you want them, right? So I like that color. But here's what that little 10 and 12 millimeter bead, along with that ringed hook, here's what it's doing. You ready? It's providing separation between the nose of that thick tube. Back in the day when I was doing the regular Texas rig without a ringed hook and without the bead, a lot of times when I'd set the hook, look, that's exactly what the bait would do. The bait would ball up on the point of the hook, and I would miss fish. But now, because I have a bead and I have a ringed hook, it's providing separation so it doesn't compress on the nose of that bait, right? It doesn't compress on the nose of that bait. When that weight was hitting that nose, it would want to push it down and make it fold. Now it doesn't do that. So better hookup percentage because I'm keeping that weight away from the nose of the bait. The other thing it's going to do is action. Okay, think about this. Because we've got that little inch and a quarter gap, and because it's on a ringed hook, look at all that extra movement it has now. I'm telling you, listen to me. The key to this tube versus, I don't know, a beaver or a jig or whatever, is the unpredictability of that tube, the movement, the fluidity of a tube. You flip it in a bush, it glides down, it slides down. As you shake it, it's got this kind of movement. With that ringed hook and that little gap, this bait's going to have more fluidity, more action, and that means more bites. Okay? All right. We talked about 3 good hacks there. Let's get on to a couple more with the bait. Okay? Now, you heard me say Texas rig. Everybody knows a Texas rig. Texas rig, I'll show you from the beginning here real quick, just in case. We're going to take our tube. The power tube has just a little bit of the tip of the head is solid, just a little. So we're only going to go in just a little bit, just barely 1/8 of an inch. We're going to pull it out. We're going to go all the way around the bend of that hook. When it seats up top there, it should just seat to the eye of the hook. Shouldn't go above that ring, okay? A normal Texas rig, you're going in, you're pulling it out, you're rigging it flat. That's okay. But remember, back when I missed a lot, how do I make this a better system? The problem with this tube is it's hollow and it's thick. It's a thick-bodied plastic. Using a wide gap hook, an EWG style hook helps, but there's a better hack I'm going to show you. After you rig it, I want you to take that tube and you've created a little hole. Mark with that hole where that hook comes in from the bottom of the tube. Pull it back out. When you pull it out, you're going to see your little hook mark, okay? Here it goes. Here's a hack for you. Get your scissors. You ready for what I'm telling you, right? We're going to go into the tube. We're going to match that hole, and we're going to cut up halfway on that tube. Look what I just did. I cut my tube halfway up on the bottom, on the side we're rigging up from. I used my little hook dot of where I went in as a guide. And now, when I Texas rig it, watch this. I can still do my normal Texas rig, right? Stay straight. But now, look at this. The hook doesn't have to go through all that plastic. We cut it away. It still seats in the top. But now when I set the hook, I only have to get it through the top of the bait, not the bottom, right? I've cut the bottom open. So now I only have to penetrate the top wall, not that bottom wall. Doesn't affect the action, doesn't affect the fluidity. All that cutting hack does, halfway up the tube from the bottom, all that cutting hack does is increase your hookup percentage. Okay. All right, I'm almost done. I've got 2 more hacks for you, and then I'm gonna leave you alone. This hack, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but this hack comes from experimenting and using this bait a lot. And what I started to learn was that the more beat up, the more destroyed the tube got, the more bites I got. Why is that? Why is that, right? The more messed up this tube got, the more bites I got with it. So I started purposely messing the tube up before I ever started fishing it. And my theory on that is I think that sometimes having perfect symmetry in a bait is not a good thing. When you have a little bit of unevenness, it changes that action, right? It makes it more strange and weird. But more than that, what in the environment is perfect, right? Think about a crawfish that's injured, a bait fish that's injured. They're usually hurt. It's missing an appendage. It's got its fin beat up. That prey looks damaged. A damaged forage is a lot easier to eat. So before I ever make a cast, I purposely go into that tube and I start pulling off legs. And I like to pull off, I like to call it about 20 or 30%. And I do it around the tube. There's no rhythm exacts to it. There's no exact style. I go and just pull about 20 or 30% of those legs off. Some break halfway up, some break way up. Doesn't have to be perfect. 20 or 30%. Pull those arms off, break some high, break some low. Just create a little unevenness, a little unbalance to it. Make it look damaged. Now you're going to have a little bit more erratic action, and it's going to look hurt and look damaged. All right, another great hack. Last hack, and I know you've probably heard this one before, but I had to throw it in there because there are times when this hack really helps. I'll give you 3 times when it really helps. Spawning fish, when you're throwing it on a bed, you really want that bait to be nose down, tail up. In current situations, this hack really, really tends to work. And last but not least, silty, mucky bottoms. If you fish a place that has really muddy, silty, muck bottom, where I live in South Jersey, everything's like that down here. I want that bait to stand up a little bit. Not float, but just have a little bit of rise. And we can do that real easy by using packing peanuts. So when you get a shipment, you get an Amazon or a Tackle Warehouse shipment, or your wife gets a shipment, steal those peanuts before you throw them in the trash. I actually just put mine in a little Ziploc bag. I can throw them in my boat. And we're going to add these peanuts to the nose of that bait. I'm only worried about having it in the nose. Remember, we're making that slice halfway up the tube, so we're going to add it to the nose of the bait. I usually, depend on the size of the peanut, I usually cut that thing in about half, maybe a little more than half. Get rid of that. And all I'm going to do is jam this peanut. They're nice because they're styrofoam. You can compress them a little bit. You can mold them. And I'll stick it in that tube and actually jam it into that head area of the tube. Okay? Okay, there we go. We've got our piece of styrofoam in there. Look at it. You don't even know it's there. Doesn't affect the bait. Doesn't affect the action. I go back and do my normal Texas rig. Remember, we got that slice in there. And that packing peanut, that styrofoam, is super buoyant. So now when this thing's laying on the bottom and you're shaking it around a bed or in clear water or a mucky bottom, it lifts that head up just a little bit, keeping that bait off the bottom. That's a natural defensive position of a crawfish anyway. And I really do get more bites by adding that little piece of styrofoam. All right, there you go. That was a whole lot of hacks for one simple bait, which is a flipping tube. But let me tell you, those hacks can catch you more big bass. I hope you like this in the shop, talking about fishing hacks for big bass, especially for that flipping tube. Man, if you like what you're hearing right now, if you like this content, do me a favor. Mash that subscribe button down there. You see it. It's right down there. Hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to my channel. If you're already subscribed, and I've met so many amazing subscribers recently, do me a favor. Tell your friends. Tell people in your fishing club. Tell your buddy at work. Tell them about Mike Iaconelli Fishing on YouTube. We have a new piece of content every single week to help you become a better fisherman. Hope you enjoyed those hacks. We'll see you in the next one.